Welcome to History with Herodotus, where we embark on a journey through the vast expanse of human experience, seeking to understand the complexities of our shared past. Today, we gather at the threshold of a pivotal moment in modern history, one that would shape the course of international relations and global governance for generations to come, the founding of the United Nations. In the aftermath of World War II, as the world lay scarred and shattered, a beacon of hope emerged amidst the ruins. The formation of the United Nations represented a concerted effort by nations to transcend their differences, to forge a collective commitment to peace, security, and cooperation. This monumental undertaking was not born in a vacuum, but rather, it was the culmination of decades of diplomatic endeavors, ideological struggles, and the unrelenting pursuit of a more just and peaceful world. To grasp the significance of this momentous event, we must first delve into the tumultuous landscape of the early 20th century. The devastating consequences of World War I had left an indelible mark on the global psyche, prompting a concerted search for mechanisms to prevent future conflicts. The establishment of the League of Nations in 1920, under the auspices of the Treaty of Versailles, represented a pioneering attempt at fostering international cooperation and collective security. Though the League's endeavors were ultimately thwarted by the rise of aggressive nationalism and the outbreak of World War II, its ideals and aspirations laid the groundwork for the United Nations. As the Second World War raged across multiple continents, claiming millions of lives and leaving unprecedented destruction in its wake, a growing consensus emerged among world leaders regarding the need for a more robust and inclusive international organization. The Atlantic Charter, issued in 1941 by U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, outlined a vision for the post-war world, emphasizing the importance of self-determination, economic cooperation, and collective security. In the midst of war, these ideals began to take shape through a series of high-level diplomatic meetings and conferences. The Moscow Declaration of 1943, signed by the foreign ministers of the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union, marked a significant milestone in this process, as it explicitly stated the intention to establish a permanent system of international security. This declaration was soon followed by the Dumbarton Oaks Conference in 1944, where representatives from the same three nations, along with China, convened to discuss the structure and functions of the proposed international organization. The conversations at Dumbarton Oaks were instrumental in laying the foundation for the United Nations as they addressed key issues such as membership, voting procedures, and the role of the Security Council. On April 25, 1945, delegates from around the world convened at the War Memorial Opera House in San Francisco, marking the beginning of a grueling yet historic negotiation process. The conference, which lasted for 2 months, was a testament to the unwavering commitment of nations to forge a new world order, one that would prioritize cooperation over conflict and collective security over national interests. The proceedings at San Francisco were not without their challenges, as delegates navigated complex issues such as membership criteria, voting procedures, and the role of regional organizations. One of the most contentious debates centered on the veto power of the permanent members of the Security Council, with the Soviet Union insisting on an absolute veto and the United States advocating for a more limited version. This impasse was eventually resolved through a compromise, whereby the permanent members would have a veto over substantive decisions, but not over procedural matters. As the conference progressed, the delegates made significant strides in shaping the organizational structure of the United Nations. The General Assembly, composed of representatives from all member states, was established as the main deliberative body, while the Security Council, comprising 5 permanent and 6 non-permanent members, was entrusted with primary responsibility for maintaining international peace and security. The Economic and Social Council, the Trusteeship Council, and the International Court of Justice were also created to address specific aspects of global governance. On June 26, 1945, after weeks of intense negotiations, the United Nations Charter was signed by the representatives of the 51 founding member states. This momentous occasion marked a major milestone in the history of international relations, as nations from diverse backgrounds and ideologies came together to pledge their commitment to a common purpose. As Virginia Gildersleeve, a delegate from the United States, poignantly observed, "The Charter is a great document, not because it is perfect, but because it represents a tremendous step forward in the history of international cooperation." The signing of the Charter was followed by a series of events that would ultimately lead to the formal establishment of the United Nations. On October 24, 1945, the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, China, France, Great Britain, Russia, and the United States, ratified the Charter, paving the way for the official launch of the organization. On January 10, 1946, the first meeting of the General Assembly took place in London, with 51 nations in attendance, marking the beginning of a new era in international cooperation. As the first meeting of the General Assembly came to a close, the United Nations had officially begun its journey as a beacon of hope for a more peaceful and cooperative world. The early years of the organization were marked by significant challenges, including the onset of the Cold War, which would test the resolve and unity of its member states. Despite these obstacles, the United Nations persevered, playing a crucial role in maintaining international peace and security through its various organs and agencies. One of the most notable achievements of the United Nations during this period was its response to the Korean War, which broke out in 1950. The organization's ability to mobilize a coalition of nations to defend South Korea against the North Korean aggression demonstrated its capacity for collective action and marked a significant milestone in its development as a global security actor. As Dag Hammarskjöld, the second Secretary General of the United Nations, observed, "The United Nations has not been able and will not be able to prevent all wars, but it has been able and will be able to prevent some wars and to limit the scope and consequences of others." In the decades that followed, the United Nations continued to evolve and expand its mandate, addressing a wide range of global challenges from decolonization and disarmament to human rights and sustainable development. The organization's role in promoting international cooperation and diplomacy was instrumental in facilitating key milestones, such as the Camp David Accords and the Good Friday Agreement. Today, the United Nations is remembered as a pioneering effort in international cooperation, one that has saved countless lives, promoted economic development, and advanced human dignity. The organization's impact can be seen in the countless lives touched by its humanitarian work, from the refugees resettled through the UNHCR to the children vaccinated through UNICEF's immunization programs. The United Nations has also played a vital role in shaping international law and promoting human rights, with landmark documents like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights serving as a beacon of hope for marginalized communities around the world. As we look to the future, it is evident that the challenges facing the United Nations are no less daunting than those it confronted at its inception. From climate change and pandemics to rising nationalism and inequality, the organization must continue to adapt and evolve in order to remain relevant and effective. And yet, despite these challenges, the United Nations remains an indispensable institution, one that continues to inspire hope and cooperation among nations. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.